Now it's time to hear from Labour on their agenda for the creative industries. I'm delighted to welcome to the stage Lucy Powell, Shadow Secretary of State for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport.
Good morning. What a great venue this is. Normally the location of premieres, of royalty, of James Bond, red carpet events. So I'm just really sorry that you've got to hear from two politicians most of you have never really heard of before instead. But at least one of us isn't Nadine Dorries anyway. There's always small consolation. But thank you so much for inviting me to speak to you today. Advertising and marketing are at the heart of a successful economy, building brands, providing exposure and driving sales. You're at the heart of social purpose too, using the tools of your trade to support causes and drive change. Despite the creative industries being an economic powerhouse, they are often one of the Cinderella sectors of our economy, undervalued and without government focus. Pre-pandemic, the creative industry's contribution to the economy was greater than that of aerospace, automotive, life sciences, and the oil and gas sectors all combined, supporting millions of jobs nationwide. And in a world where we're all busy, where our attention spans are shorter, where people are consuming media and content in so many different ways, on and offline, not only do you have to work harder to grab attention, but to keep it, to cut through and to stand out. In many ways, these are the challenges that politicians face too, but I think you're a lot better at it than we are. Let's not go there. The power of advertising to change behaviours and minds comes with responsibility too, to ensure that it's not used to promote harmful or dangerous practices. And I know these are responsibilities that you take very seriously, and I'll come on to touch on this a bit later. But whilst we celebrate the importance and impact of advertising on the modern economy, I also know that you face a lot of challenges. It's been another difficult year, with COVID and Brexit hangovers continuing, the war in Ukraine, the divisions of the culture wars, and rapid changes in technology such as AI and the opportunities and threats that this brings. The economic downturn and the looming recession is a real risk. Ad spending is often the first budget line to be cut. The cost of living crisis also means that no matter how good the advert or the marketing, consumers are tightening their belts with the knock-on effect that this has on revenue. Some of this is down to the global economic climate, but it's also down to the choices of the government. They've got no plan for growth, but only stagflation, and no real plan for our creative economy either. That's why, as many of you may have heard from Keir Starmer time and time again, the first and central task of the next Labour government will be to get Britain back to meaningful growth. In every speech he makes on this, the creative industries is at the heart of his vision. We back the creative industries to the hilt, just as we did when we were last in government. We opposed the sell-off of Channel 4 and won. We're against the undermining of the BBC, both cornerstones of the creative economy. And we will fight plans to scrap the licence fee while striving for a more long-term, independent BBC free from political interference. And we want the government to get on and deliver the long-awaited media bill and reform prominence, both vital to the sustainability of our public service broadcasters and the linear advertising that many of them still rely on. But just on that, the revelations this week about the BBC chair's undisclosed involvement with the then Prime Minister's personal loans damages public trust. It's welcome that the Commissioner for Public Appointments agreed to my investigation into whether these conflicts of interest should have been declared, but this is not a situation that we should have seen in the first place. But it's not just in my brief that we are focused on the creative industries. Lord Jim O'Neill has led a business startup review for us, and Gordon Brown's Future of the UK Commission highlighted the importance of developing creative clusters around the regions and nations. We've also recently launched our Labour Creatives Network to help creatives shape the next Labour manifesto and our programme for government. If you're not already a member, please join, and you'll keep in touch with us that way as well. One of the biggest issues that we hear about from the sector is skills and the talent pipeline. Again, it's not a direct DCMS responsibility, but something we're working closely together on. There are a huge number of hard-to-fill vacancies in the advertising industry, with creative roles a significant part of the government's shortage occupation list. This includes many jobs predicted to grow as a share of the workforce. It's great to see the industry taking steps through the Advertising Association's Talent Action Plan, but this is not a job you can just do alone. And that's why Labour will reform the apprenticeship levy, giving businesses far greater flexibility, something that's crucial for the creative economy. We need an education and skills system fit for the 21st century, not the 19th century. The government's curriculum squeeze on creative subjects is nonsensical and damaging. Not only does this affect access to careers, it also damages Britain as a creative nation. And that's why Keir Starmer talks of a new emphasis on a creative curriculum. Digital skills is another area where the UK needs to improve. Advertising and digital are now two sides of the same coin. But fewer than half of employers believe that young people have the digital skills they need. And digital skills are a key component of the other half of my brief, the D in the DCMS. Technology is changing at breakneck speed. Soon every job, every business will be digital if they aren't already. Your industry, in many ways, has been at the vanguard of this new digital age. Yet government policy, infrastructure lags behind massively. The waves of digital and technological change are only accelerating. But rather than free up and drive growth and innovation, SMEs often feel constrained. And I'm currently working on a digital green paper. The digital age was supposed to be a great leveller, and in some ways it has been, creating opportunities for a young person from my constituency, for example, to start their own YouTube channel. But in many ways, what we've actually seen is an accumulation of power into fewer and fewer hands, with those holding the data and the platforms dominating digital markets. That's why I talk of a new settlement for the digital age, where power and knowledge is in the hands of consumers and citizens, and data and digital used for the common good. But it's not all gone the way of digital, has it? Some of the predictions we've seen about the impact of technology turned out to be wrong. Whether that was the death knell of vinyl, now making a comeback at outselling CDs, the new wave of independent bookshops, given the advent of e-readers, or television supposedly ending the radio star. What we've seen matters more than the latest fad is authenticity, trusted brands, physical sometimes over digital, and not always clickbait and superficiality. Time will tell what the impact of this is on advertising. But one thing is clear, as well as offering huge opportunity, the switch up to online also poses risks as well as rewards. And that's where responsibility comes in again. I know there are some concerns about the government's online advertising consultation and their proposal for dual regulation. My view is that in general, the independent self-regulatory system is working well. My pledge to you is that the next Labour government will work in partnership with industry. But we also need to keep with the times. We now experience advertising at every waking moment, not just in the living room or on the billboard or the car radio as in the past, but in every room, in every workplace, at every event, in every pocket, and with the advent of VR, inside our heads too. This is particularly true for children. With data mining and algorithms, meaning advertising is far more targeted, relevant, and often not so obviously advertising at all, the TikTok generation is more exposed than ever. So while I'm not a particular fan of blanket advertising restrictions, however well-meaning, there is a strong societal and public interest in taking these responsibilities seriously and ensuring regulation works, with transparency and evidence being closely monitored. There is an interest for policymakers here, and one I'm keen for us to work together on. Just last week, we finally saw the long-awaited online safety bill through its Commons passage, albeit much more watered down than it was originally intended. The online space needs regulation because of the opaque nature of platforms, their power and reach. Our approach has been to tackle the business models and algorithms of companies which often reward harmful actors. Abusers and cranks online should not be able to profit from the misery they cause, yet online platforms allow them to monetize their content, permitting disinformation and hate to run rife. NewsGuard estimates that UK brands unwittingly spent £110 million last year advertising on misinformation sites. I want to work with you to cut this funding source off. This could include more openness and transparency about where adverts are placed. I know work is ongoing by industry on this, and I would welcome your thoughts. Tackling this issue would also protect businesses and brand reputation and open up the opaque online advertising market to the benefit of businesses. I hope this gives you a flavour of where I stand on some of the big issues facing the country. So in conclusion, Labour believes Britain's future prosperity lies with its homegrown industries, and the creative industries are a great British success story. Alongside an ambitious plan for growth in our economy, Labour in government will offer stability and partnership, a national renewal as a creative nation. Think Cool Britannia 2.0, but without Oasis, because not even a Labour government can mend that relationship, I'm afraid. And I look forward to working with all of you to realise these ambitions. Thank you.